For behold, I create new heavens and a new earth, and the former shall not be remembered, nor come into mind. But be ye glad and rejoice forever in that which I create. For behold, I create Jerusalem a rejoicing, and her people a joy. And I will rejoice in Jerusalem, and joy in my people. And the voice of weeping shall be no more heard in her, nor the voice of crying. There shall be no more thence an infant of days, nor an old man that hath not filled his days. For the child shall die 100 years old. But the sinner, being 100 years old, shall be accursed. And they shall build houses and inhabit them, and they shall plant vineyards and eat the fruit of them. They shall not build, and another inhabit. They shall not plant, and another eat. For as the days of a tree are the days of my people, and mine elect shall long enjoy the work of their hands. They shall not labor in vain, nor bring forth for trouble, for they are the seed of the blessed of the Lord, and their offspring with them. And it shall come to pass that before they call, I will answer, and while they are yet speaking, I will hear. The wolf and the lamb shall feed together, and the lion shall eat straw like the bullock, and dust shall be the serpent's meat. They shall not hurt nor destroy in all my holy mountain, saith the Lord.
So we're going to get up in the morning singing. Hey, you're going to get up, you lay with one of your wives or concubines or whatever. So when we get up in the morning, we're going to have a smile on our face. That's what Psalm 149 is talking about. When we get up in the morning, we're going to be singing and dancing. We're going to go to sleep happy. We're going to get up happy. We're going to eat happy. Every time we eat some food, it's going to be good. Hey, the scripture said we're going to praise his name in the dance, right? Praise ye Yahweh, sing unto Yahweh. So praising Yahweh is singing to him, right? A new song. And his praise in the congregation of saints, Israelites. Let Israel rejoice in him that made him. Let the children of the remembered ones, to Zion one, be joyful in their king. Let them praise his name, Yahweh. In the dance, let them sing. See, praise and sings in the same sentence. Sing praises unto him with the timbrel and the harp. For Yahweh taketh pleasure in his people, the Israelites. He will beautify the meek, we the meek, with salvation. He's going to save us, the elect. Salvation means to be saved from impending danger, right? Delivered from impending danger. Let the saints be joyful with glory. Let them sing or praise. Let them sing aloud upon thy beds. We're going to be getting up in the morning.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Kakwadash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to us younger brothers. And peace and blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect out there pushing his word and truth. And so like and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful elect, the believers, the listeners who have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shah. All right, well, I want to get into today, some in the news, got a few videos, and what we're watching, is the decline of empire. Okay, and we're going to continue to get into this topic, as we see, all right, the Lord is bringing down, the empire of Edom. Okay, and what's happening, we're seeing America, is becoming insignificant, okay, on the world stage. Okay, because one thing we have to understand is that America, has no role, no dominant role in the New World Order. So the elites, okay, are dismantling America, but it's the Lord that has the spirit on them to do that. And see, ultimately, America has no role in our kingdom. None of these nations do. Okay, all these heathens are getting ready to go into captivity. But the Lord has them in the spirit of a brawl for it all. Within this new world order, which America is going to be, all right, obliterated in war. Okay, and what's happening? We're seeing moves being made to where America, all right, is becoming insignificant. Okay, and it speaks about that in the scriptures, and I got a few videos that go into that. All right, so this is Jeremiah 49:14. Said, I have heard a rumor from the Lord Yahweh Bashem Al Shai, and an ambassador is sent unto the heathen, saying, gather ye together and come against her and rise up to the battle. So the Lord is putting the spirit on these nations, okay, to be war ready, all right, for the West, mainly for what? America, Babylon. Okay, these nations have, equipped themselves, okay, militarily, okay, to be, a to be a resistance, you know, you see, to be a threat, okay, to American empire. You see, so when you read verse 15, it says, "For lo, I will make thee small among the heathen and despised among men." So let's get this word small, okay, and then we'll get that actual definition for insignificant. Okay, so you go here to small, which in the Hebrew is kortan. Okay, kortan. All right, it says what? Young, small, insignificant, unimportant. Okay, insignificant and unimportant. Okay, it says least, less. Okay, in age or importance. So America is losing its importance and significance that it once had. Okay, and you go into this word, you see, economically, militarily. All right, now America, the dollar is still, the dominant currency. America's military, is still, a force, a formidable force. Okay, but the dominance that it once has is dwindling, is waning. Okay, economically, politically, and militarily, well, is waning. All right, and you go into this word insignificant. Okay, it says too small or unimportant to be worth consideration. It says unimportant. Okay, of minor importance. Okay, it says trivial, trifling, and America for damn so trifling. Okay, uh, worthless. All right, and it says of a person without power or influence, and America is losing, that power and influence that it once had. Okay, it's like that old, great, player, that's trying to play beyond his prime. Okay, and you see, the glory that he had in his prime is dwindling. Well, that's America, man. All right. When I say they for damn sure trifling, let's see what trifling say. Okay, they trifling, unimportant. Okay, unimportant, trivial, petty. You know, and this is America, man. Okay, and the Lord is doing this on the global stage. All right, because these nations are being put in positions. All right, to attack. All right, so let's go to this video here I got. Um, and if a brother could post that, I think that's Jeremiah 50:9. You know, all right, because all these nations are making these alliances just to come against the beast. Okay, yeah, I think that's Jeremiah 50:9, and let me see. Yeah, let's go here. So this guy Richard Wolf, and he's, his whole podcast lately. He's a economist, uh, professor. All right, but he's just been his whole platform is turned into the downfall of America, man. Okay, because that's the spirit that's in the earth. All right, but yeah, if a brother could, I'm gonna get a few, try to have a few precepts on deck. That's Jeremiah 50:9, and Jeremiah 50 and 29. You can get some of Jeremiah 51. Um, mm, let's see, there's a few of them. Yeah, Jeremiah 51 verses 27 to 28. Bob Shah. But let's go here. So he's gonna break down. Because we've been hearing about America. In Venezuela. Um, and this is political because what you have these major players. They'll use these lesser nations. As strategy. Like how America deals with Taiwan. Well, they use Taiwan for strategy against China. Okay, it's for them America to be able to stage weaponry in Taiwan. Okay, in case of a war with China, where you have China and Russia and Iran, they got ties in Venezuela. Okay, Russia has ties with Cuba. Cuba was at the Chinese military parade. The Cuba president. Okay, because war. Okay, is very strategic. Okay, the fighting is the last stage of war. But before war, all right, nations put themselves, posture themselves, and put themselves in position, all right, for the best outcome. So you have Venezuela, Russia, Iran, okay, and China, okay, there, have interest in Venezuela, which is America's backyard, militarily, it puts them in a closer range, okay, within the American landmass. Okay, so I'm gonna play this. He's gonna speak on a little bit about the decline of American power. Okay, because America is not able to do the things that it once used to do. Okay, it's not able to project itself like it used to because now you have some other big boys in the pond. Okay, you got some other big boys on the yard. Okay, so it was a time when there was only one bully on the playground. Well, now, all right, there's other bullies. All right, that's on the playground. Okay, so let's play this.
What we are witnessing today is not just another headline in the international press. It is the unfolding of a profound global power shift. When China issues a warning to the United States over Venezuela, we are not simply looking at a dispute over foreign policy. We are looking at the shifting tectonic plates of global economics and politics. And if you don't see it that way, you're missing the bigger picture that will define the 21st century. China issuing a direct warning to the United States over Venezuela is far more than a diplomatic exchange. It is a moment that reveals the scale of change underway in the global order. For decades, the U.S. has operated under the assumption that Latin America is firmly within its sphere of influence, a region where Washington could dictate policy without significant challenge. The Monroe Doctrine, first declared in the 19th century, set the stage for this dominance by warning outside powers to stay away from the Western Hemisphere. But now we are living in a moment where that historical reality is being rewritten, and it is China, the world's second largest economy, that is daring to tell the United States to step back. That in itself is extraordinary. If anyone doubts the seriousness of this shift, let me ask you, when was the last time a global rival openly warned Washington in its own backyard and had the confidence to back it up with real economic and political leverage? The warning is not symbolic. It is backed by years of steady engagement by China with Venezuela and with Latin America as a whole. Beijing has poured billions of dollars into Venezuela, financing infrastructure projects, buying oil on favorable terms, and providing loans that Washington once used to control these nations. What's crucial here is not only the scale of investment, but the political message behind it. China is positioning itself as the partner of choice for countries tired of U.S. conditions, sanctions, and interventions. That is why its warning carries weight. When China says to Washington, do not interfere further in Venezuela, it is not making an idle statement. It is showing that it has built the kind of influence, the kind of presence that can challenge U.S. authority in a region the U.S. has dominated for more than a century. Think about how jarring this must be for policymakers in Washington. The United States has long believed it can dictate who governs Venezuela, whether by supporting coups, applying crushing sanctions, or recognizing opposition leaders instead of elected ones. But this time, a rival power steps in and effectively says, you no longer have the last word here. That is a dramatic hook in this unfolding story. It forces us to ask what happens when the world's most powerful nation is told no in a place where it has always assumed control. The answer is not yet clear, but the fact that the question must even be asked shows how much the balance of power is shifting.
Yeah, and I'm gonna put the link. If you all want to watch the rest of it, it's pretty informative. Guy Richard Wolf, he puts out a lot of content, and he just, he's non-biased, and he breaks down, the collapse of America. Okay, so I put that in the comment. But see now, all right, cause see America, you see if this was the '90s, okay, early 2000s, America would just invade Venezuela, okay, and Maduro will be out of there. You see, and they'll put up a puppet, and that'll be the new president, and he'll be pro-American, all right, and you'll see American bases in Venezuela. You will see American corporations in Venezuela, okay, extracting all the resources out of Venezuela, which they have large oil reserves, a lot of gold and silver reserves, okay. If this was the '90s, early 2000s, but see, it's not that time anymore because now Venezuela has taken loans, from China. All right, so China has an interest in Venezuela, so you can't just come, all right, and America can't just come and throw its weight around like it did because now these other superpowers, okay, have assets, okay, in America's backyard, and it just shows you that these nations are getting bolder and bolder and bolder, okay, and how they deal with America, which America is becoming small among the heathen. Okay, Babylon is becoming small among the heathen, man. You see, America was able to, recognize a new president in a foreign country, and that was it. Other countries would recognize it, and that'd be the new leader. All right, they wouldn't recognize the old leader anymore, and they tried to do that with Maduro. They tried to coup. They tried to just, establish a nigga as president, and no one was recognizing him as the president anymore. Okay, the sway, okay, America's sway and influence is waning. All right, and it's gonna show, all right, more and more, as we see things unfold. Okay, now I want to segue to this video because America is responsible for a lot of coups. The majority of coups that we see in the earth, all right, are through America, CIA operatives, and they do it in many ways, whether they arm a rebellion, or whether they send special forces in to decapitate, okay, these nation leaders. Well, they can't do that anymore, all right, like they used to, okay. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if they tried it in Venezuela. It'd be something to look to, if y'all see any information, leave on the comment, leave clips and, articles or whatever, if y'all see anything. But we'll just see how they play out in Venezuela. But this is a showcase of America's losing its power. Okay, so let's go here. All right, then we get some of the precepts the brother put up for us. Let's see. Yep. So let's go here to this video. All right, and it's just more of the decline. You see, more of the decline. And then if a brother could put Isaiah 47 verses 1 through 3 on the Ratazah, and this will sum up both videos. These precepts will sum up both videos. So let's let this one play. It's about 5 minutes. So I'm gonna let about 6 minutes. So I'm gonna let all this one play.
The United States is losing power very noticeably under Donald Trump, and this is causing a decline in the country that I fear may not be recoverable until we really get a change at the top. When we talk about how empires fall and how superpowers die, it's often not with a war. It's with a handshake between your old friends and your enemies. And I want to explain that. If you've been wondering whether the United States is still the world's dominant superpower under Donald Trump, it appears that the answer is no. Because while Donald Trump was busy cozying up to authoritarians, slapping tariffs on allies, and by the way, being missing for 6 days, which we will get to in a moment, the rest of the world has been forming new alliances, and they don't seem to need us anymore. We saw this during Donald Trump's first term as the United States was increasingly excluded from important climate change discussions and other aspects of global governance because Donald Trump just wasn't worth even including. We now are starting to see more of the same. In China, something happened that really should not send a tingle down your leg, but send a chill down your spine, which is that if you're still clinging to the idea of American global leadership, Chinese President Xi, Russian President Putin, and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, the leaders of China, Russia, and India, they held hands, literally, shared laughs, embraced at the largest ever Shanghai Cooperation Summit. This was not just a photo op. It was a signal of we've got each other. We don't need Trump. We don't need the United States. And the symbolism is brutal because Putin, who after meeting with Trump, conceding nothing, some people said Trump was cucked figuratively. I would never use language like that, but some people are out there saying that. After that, Putin went and dropped even more bombs, clearly doesn't care what Trump says to him. And then Putin meets with Modi.
Yeah, man. So Putin and America had, Putin and Trump had a meeting. Okay. And Trump been pushing, he's this peace, okay, president. All right, and he's going to stop the war in Ukraine. He was telling the people, give him, a week, the war will be over. Okay, and it's been months, almost half a year. Okay, over half a year. You see, and what has happened? All right, Russia has become more aggressive. So Putin leaves the meeting with Trump and goes and drop more bombs, man. Okay. Don't give a damn about what Trump talking about, man. Trump ain't got no sway. Okay? You see, hey, America gonna have to pull up over there. They gonna have to. The script say he gonna remove from the Northern Army, far from the Northern Army. America gonna have to take their ass over there. Okay? Because the diplomacy, okay, and their words don't have that power anymore, man. So Trump left the meeting. Putin left the meeting with Trump and got right back on the battlefield, man. That nigga ain't talking about nothing. You see? Well, hey, Putin like shit, we live here, they don't. That's why Ukraine President Zelensky, which a lot of things are staged, but he told Trump, he was like, look, y'all got this big ocean between y'all. That's why you can sit over here and say this and say that. Okay, but what's going to close the gap? Okay, of that Atlantic Ocean, the missiles coming across the Atlantic Ocean to America when it's all said and done. You see? So let's play this.
Took a joyride in Putin's limo, Modi did, and they are bypassing Trump figuratively and literally. Why is this happening? Trump's
And Modi is the president of India. Which India, they're becoming a power. India has a strong military, okay, and a strong economy. Which at the end of the day, these economies are all linked, to the dollar. All right, but the thing with these nations is, them being in close proximity to one another, okay, and having the resources on hand, they're creating, other trade systems, okay, that bypass the dollar. Okay, they don't have the ability to replace the dollar, but they have the ability to bypass, okay, the dollar being able to cripple their economy. Okay, which America has been using. The dollar has weaponized the dollar through sanctions. Okay, so these nations now have workarounds of the dollar. Okay, to where it's not crippling to their economy, where they still can operate and they don't have to bow down. All right, to the demands of the West. Okay.
chaos, Trump's cartoonish nature. The US puts tariffs on India for continuing to buy Russian oil. So India moves closer to China. China, its longtime rival, and joins what's being called an axis of upheaval that includes Iran, Turkey, to some degree, Belarus, and others. China is filling the power vacuum. Xi has announced a new development bank, a global energy cooperation platform, has opened access to China's GPS alternative. And so they are replacing American systems technologically. They are replacing American leadership ideologically. They are replacing American dominance economically as well. And the biggest blow to the US from all of this is that countries are listening. This alliance now includes 27 countries in Central Asia, Southeast Asia, the Middle East. And the message from Xi is the United States under Trump is more of a relic from the old world, not the Cold World, the Cold War, from the old world. And China says, hey, we're going to offer a more multilateral, fair system. It's not American-led. The U.S. can't come in and just throw its weight around. And for Trump, that may be more literal than figurative. And Trump is saying, oh, this U.S.-India relationship was a one-sided disaster. Okay, well, India has other options. You really can't punch your allies in the face and expect them to stick around. And even Putin's Ukraine summit with Trump, it was supposedly a peace effort. It was immediately debriefed to Xi, and it made it clear that the back channels here don't put the United States in the privileged, powerful position. Now you've got China and Russia pushing to reform the IMF and to reform the World Bank. You've got them rejecting Western sanctions and saying this is neo-colonialism. We're going to do our own system of global governance. And they're doing it with momentum. We have Trump missing for 6 days, posting angry rants about handshakes on Truth Central, and the United States is getting boxed out. What's Trump doing? Deploying federal troops to DC, putting soldiers on our own streets. It's like a collapsing regime trying to keep its grip on power. That's not what stability looks like. If you're in some other country, right? Not Russia, China, not the country, India, the countries we're talking about here. If you're just in, France, the UK, Italy, wherever, and you look and you see, okay, on the one hand, you've got Russia, India, China, Turkey to some degree, other countries making their own alliances and getting completely decoupled from the United States. And what's the US doing? They've militarized their streets. Trump, it's not clear what's going on with Trump's health. You don't look at that and go, oh, I really am drawn to what's happening in the United States. You say, at minimum, I'm not drawn to the US, and probably you're drawn to this new global alliance that is growing. So, we've got the military parades and the whole thing. It's not impressing global powers. There is the idea of whether we are marching towards a funeral procession for American leadership and seeing a global realignment. And if we keep pretending that this is just about optics, we're going to wake up one day, probably not that long from now, to be frank, and say, what happened? The world has moved on. from the United States. And a lot of the problem is Trump and this humiliating regime where people like, take your pick, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. wants to ban vaccines and all of this wacky stuff. This is why the world is going in a different direction.
Yeah, man. So we're seeing, a waning, empire. Okay. America, all right, is being stripped of its status. All right. And it's coming from on high, and the elites, they're in their mind, they're shaping, this new world order. But ultimately they're playing into, okay, the agenda of the Heavenly Father. All right, which is to turn America into a desert, and all these heathens getting ready to go into captivity, man. Okay, it's a vain thing. You see, my brother can get that too. Psalms 2, we always get that. Psalms, the second chapter, uh, verses 2, um, now verses 1. Psalm chapter 2, verses 1 through 6, Bible Shah. All right, this is Jeremiah 50 and 9. This is brother do or die youth. And it says, for lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon an assembly of great nations from the north country, and they shall set themselves in a array against her. Okay, so what we're seeing with these economic alliances with these nations, okay, well, if you're making an economic alliance with a nation, by default, you have to make a military alliance because you have to have something to control your interest, to protect your interests. Okay, so we see the Shanghai Corporation, the BRICS, and all these different economic blocks. All right, that are being formed by these nations of the East. Well, we have to understand, they have to have military, all right, alliances as well. Okay, so what we're seeing is these nations continue to gather and counsel amongst one another, with America being excluded because America, all right, is the play. You see, America is going to be the duck in the water when all these things go down. Obadiah 1, the nations of thy confederacy. Okay, it says, from thence shall she be taken, their arrows, which are their missiles. All right. And what did China have on display, man? That hardware. Okay. That hardware. You see that iron, as Jake say, down in Louisiana. You see, China showcased that iron. All right. And all of it, everything we seen in that parade is headed to America. All right. The Lord had that built, okay, just for the purpose of turning America into a desert, fulfilling prophecy, man. It said the arrow shall be as a mighty expert, man. None shall return in vain, man. The Lord gonna have it to where these nations ain't gonna miss. Okay, ain't no missile just gonna fall, okay, and not hit a target and cause destruction. No, every missile, all right, has a appointed destination. Okay, and it's gonna get there, man. You see? This is do or die youth, brother, do or die youth. Jeremiah 15:29 says, call together the archers against Babylon, all ye that bend the bow, camp against it round about. Let none thereof escape. Recompense her according to her work, according to all right, according to all that she have done, do unto her. All right, for she have been proud against the Lord, against the Holy One of Israel. Okay, and all these nations, okay, that we see coming together, these are nuclear nations, man. China, North Korea, Russia, okay, India. You see, and they talk about Iran not having none. You got to be out your goddamn mind if you think Iran ain't scrapped down with it, man. Okay, all the hostility that they face, from the small hats, you think, okay, they ain't scrapped down with them nukes, okay, and then see they gonna find out the hard way, okay. A lot of people they gonna find out about Iran the hard way, okay. So this keep going. This is do or die youth, brother, do or die youth. Jeremiah 51:27. It says, set ye up a standard in the land. blow the trumpet against, all right, uh, blow a trumpet among the nations, prepare the nations against her, call together against her the kingdoms of Ararat, Mini, and Ashkenaz. Okay, which that goes into Turkey, Armenia, all right, Germany. With Germany has been favoring Russia for the last few years. Okay, even the Nord Stream pipeline, that was mainly supplying, oil to Russia, natural gases to Russia. Okay, I mean to Germany. You see, because Germany and Russia, they, out of all the EU nations, Germany is, more pro-Russia, than all of them. All right, and eventually the whole EU is going to turn, okay, on America, man. Okay, it says they point a captain against her, and that captain is Russia. Russia is, the captain of all, these nations that we see coming together, making alliances, okay, against the whore, cause horses to come up as the rough caterpillar, okay, which is militaries, man, military forces, okay. All right, and it says, prepare against her the nations with the kings of the Medes, Russia, okay, the captain thereof, and all the rulers thereof in the land of his dominion. Okay, so under the banner of Russia, there's this global, all right, alliance, all right, against the whore. Okay, there's this military, this big, huge military conglomerate, all right, that's getting ready to come against the whore, man. All right. And see, America's finna take this big demotion in the earth. Okay. And that's why you see these Edomites, crying because your country is in decline. Okay. Your country is in decline. All right. And the Lord is getting ready, okay, to demote America to a desert. Okay. It only gets worse. You Edomites that's out there crying about the job market and all these different things. Well, guess what? It only gets worse. Okay. Way worse, man. Okay, so this is the brother Kazak Bun Yahweh. All right, Isaiah 47:1. It says, "Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon, and sit on the ground. There is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate." Man, okay. You see, America is being demoted, okay, to a slave status, man. You know, to nothing. You see. It was known as what the excellent of the Chaldeans, all right, the lady of kingdoms. It enjoyed privilege. America has enjoyed a lot of privilege in the earth, okay, under this system, okay. But as this system is now being dismantled, okay, and these devils, plan to build a new one, well, America is getting ready to suffer more than any nation in the earth because hey, we serve a just power. Because America has been in complete rebellion but has enjoyed perks. Okay. So now the Lord is finna bring suffering, man. Okay, second Ezra 8 and 50. You see? So America is not being looked at, this is the standard of morale. America looked at the standard of morality and this golden city. You see, it was looked at as the economic blueprint for the world with this capitalism. Okay, it was looked at as this this superpower that was unmatched, untouched. Okay, well it's losing that status right before our eyes, man. Okay, and it's gonna continually to decline. It said, take the millstones and grind meal, uncover thy locks, make bare the leg, uncover the thighs, pass over the rivers. Okay, so this place, is being exposed, is being made bare. Okay, and through the spirit that the Lord has put on the prophets, man. Because every video is like grinding, all right, this kingdom into powder, man. Every lesson that comes out is grinding this place into powder. That's what millstone will do. It will grind things into a powder form. Okay, and this kingdom is being okay grinding into powder. Through this word. All right, and it's gonna become powder. through fire, with the nukes and the chariots. Okay. And it says Isaiah 47:3. Um, it says, thy nakedness shall be uncovered. Yeah, thy shame shall be seen. I will take vengeance and I will not meet thee as a man. And that's Yahweh Shai. Okay. Because guess what? He came to Rome to be a sacrifice. They was able to put hands on him and put him on the cross. Okay. But this time, Yahweh Shai is going to be untouched, but he's going to touch everything. You see? This time, Yahweh Shai coming as that high priest. He gonna be decked out, clean, all right, getting busy, man. Okay, he is just gonna be getting busy in the earth. You see, and uh, uh, he's gonna touch everything, and nothing's gonna touch him. Okay, and this is what this is leading up to, man. Yahweh Shai can't wait to get turned loose, man. Okay, and then on the Edomites and you heathens, man. Okay, this is brother Kazak Bun Howard. All right, Psalms 2:1 says, why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? Because these nations, these heathens that are making these alliances, they think that they, all right, they think that they're going to cross America out of this new system, and then they're going to enjoy the perks that America once had. No, all of you finna be crossed out when Yahweh Shai returns. Okay, but you just have a part to play. These nations just have a part to play in destroying America. Okay, it says the kings of the earth, all right, all the leaders of these nations set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed, saying, okay, see this book verse 3. Um, I know it be tripping sometimes. Okay, yeah, probably I see both brothers. It won't let both brothers put verse 3. It's all good. We're gonna get it. You see, because all these elites or these heathens, they know who we are. All right, because all these moves that they're making, okay, it's about them. All right, continuing to have, all right, authority in the earth. But see, how Shai is coming to what? Get all the crowns, all the authority. He's stripping all these heathens of authority. Okay, so let's get this real quick. I'm gonna get it in the NLT. And I get back on the comment board the brothers got. But yeah, Yahweh Shai is coming to strip all these heathens. Okay, America. Esau. He just at the top of the list. But all these heathens are going to be stripped of their authority. Okay, because when they speak about, when they talk about these councils, okay, it's still a rebellion. This council is still a rebellion against Yahweh Bashem Al Shai. Okay, so let's go to verse 3. It says, let us break their chains, they cry, and free ourselves from slavery to the Most High. And see, this is how you know that council is led by Esau Edom. Because Esau Edom is the most anti-Messiah, okay, heathen in the earth. Okay, that's his MO, to be anti-Messiah. Okay, so he's at the forefront of these councils. Like, look, let's free ourselves from the slavery. He's hyping these other heathens up, saying, look, let's free ourselves from the slavery, okay, of the Most High, and do our own thing. We can continue to do our own thing, So these nations are conspiring, all right, because you go into the word rage in verse 1, which is the Hebrew word ragash, and one of the definitions is to conspire. So all these nations are conspiring, continue on in rebellion against Yahweh Bashem Al Shai. And that's why all of them are going in captivity. Okay, and Esau, he's gonna get the worst punishment because he's a ringleader of the rebellion. Okay, verse 4 says, he that sitteth in the heavens shall laugh, the Lord shall have them in derision. Okay, so this is comedy to the Most High, the fact that Esau is even trying to pull this off. Okay, it says, then shall he speak unto them in his wrath and vex them in his sore displeasure. Okay, so how is he going to speak to him in his wrath, man, through this war and sending back Yahweh Shai in the chariots? Okay, because that's going to be the peak of the Lord's wrath in the earth when Yahweh Shai returns. Okay, with that great power. Okay, in the glory of his Father, in his own glory, and in the glory of the angel. Okay, he's going to vex them. Okay, with fire, man. Okay, and then what? Verse 6, it said, "Yet have I set my king upon my holy hill of Zion, and that's Yahweh Shai, establishing the throne of David, okay, forever in the earth, man. It'll never be a throne, okay, in the earth above, all right, the throne of David, you see, and this was coming to the earth, you see. So, yeah, man, just wanted to get into that, I guess I'll do the M.O.T.B lesson by itself, you know, the brother, hopefully three put up a video about Eve having a dream about the M.O.T.B, so we'll get into that our brothers in a later time. But yeah, man, America is becoming, insignificant. All right, and we're going to see the decline more and more, and we should, all right, celebrate. We should be in the spirit of rejoicing as we seeing our power do a mighty work in the earth, man. You know, so Lord will, you brothers, all right, and you sisters edified. Till next time, I say shalom, yashala, abab, hey, hey, soon, shalom.